So tonight we're going to talk a little bit more about, electromagnetic forces, a little bit of cell phones, but mostly with smart meters. I've had some interest in that. My patients have asked me about it. Well, there's risk versus benefit, and I'll just kind of go over the different type of factors. We're bombarded with electromagnetic forces that are always around us, and this electricity was leaking from all over the house. Yeah. We're constantly bombarded. In this studio, there's magnetic forces like that, and there's real risk with that. And depending on how intense and the frequency, has consequences on our health and well-being. The cell phone antennas in lower Manhattan, as you can see, has just exploded. So you're exposed to higher amounts of these type of electromagnetic forces that can cause different types of health issues. And so that's electromagnetic forces in terms of where it kind of has impact on your brain versus other parts of your body, visible light, x-rays. These are all different factors. Has a lot to do, mostly to do with physics and the intensity of the factors there. You can see that cell phones are over to the left there, and as we're going to talk a little bit about that. EMF safety assumes only ionizing radiation causes chemical changes. Well, that's not what the show, that non-ionizing, that's what we're talking about. These cell phones, smart meters, other type of electromagnetic forces are like that can also cause chemical changes in the body. What long-term consequences are? Hey, we don't know. Are there things that you can do? Yes, we'll talk about what's called the inverse square law. The further you're away from these type of forces, the less intense it is. So it's like, do you want to just get a little bit wet by a couple drops on it, or do you want to have a whole couple buckets full dumped on you? That's what the electromagnetic force is. Electromagnetic force cell damage is only caused by heating. That's not the case anymore. As we talked about, there can be chemical changes. There can be unzipping of DNA. There's other factors than the heating. That's older type of thinking, older type of technology. So you have to be careful when they say, okay, this doesn't cause any problems because it doesn't produce any heat. Well, okay, that's an element of it, but that's not the whole story. That's older type of discovery. Now the newer discovery is saying, okay, heat is only one way that can have a negative impact on your body there. Safe EMF limits can be set in terms of heating rate. Once again, heat doesn't correlate. And EMF exposure limits can be set separately from other types of subdivisions. You can. The effects are additive. These things start to add up and becomes the difficulty there. So epidemiology, different types of dose-related, chemical type of laboratory research, these are all the kind of things that we're trying to go and trying to really figure out what's kind of going on like that. Goes back to kind of, the simpler the better. Yep, I have a cell phone, I live in the 21st century, but I take measures, and that's what I'm trying to tell you, to be able to make measures and make choices in terms of what you want to do. In terms of being able to do that. So you can see here is that epidemiology studies of leukemia in childhood, showing that there is some connection that the electromagnetic forces can cause possible cause of cancer. Is it hard fact that everybody? No, but it increases it, and you don't want to have increase. Biological threshold. I'll show you some other things. Different countries have different thresholds. It's like temperature. You can say, well, I think hot is 105, and another person can say that 85 is hot. Well, there's a big difference there. 105 can actually kind of hurt you. 85, same as with electromagnetic forces and other chemicals. There's different thresholds. And unfortunately, what they do a lot of times is they just raise the threshold to deal with the problem, instead of really saying, okay, there's good science to show that we don't have to worry about it. Just to make people feel comfortable, we'll just raise the threshold. Now it's below that. Anything below that is healthy, which is not true. And we'll show you that how different countries around the world look at these different factors by threshold. The United States, unfortunately, has a high financial return on that, so they have a higher threshold to make it look safe. Cells answer safety questions in terms of being, well, how this DNA, messenger RNA, and protein can be altered by very, very type of environmental factors. These epigenetic factors are like, as we talked about, electromagnetic forces, could be other things. Stress response, evidence of molecular damage. These can be occurred by the different types of defense mechanisms inflicted by these molecules. Genes can be stimulated by stress genes, which then are stimulated by ELF and RF type of electromagnetic forces there. EMF affects breast cell cancer growth. So you have this, a number of studies here showing that when it's exposed, definitely a higher increase in terms of what happens to the cancer. It stimulates the cancer growth because it's able to get down into this very, very small area here. It's a very delicate area, and these forces can be very damaging. So just the different specific domain of these different types of ranges in terms of the cells. specific DNA that can be moved around, in terms of not better, but for worse type of factors like that. EMF breaking DNA, this study here in 1997, actually physically seeing the actual destruction of DNA occurring at 60 hertz. I mean, that's in 2 hours of different types of levels of 1 gigahertz, 2.5 gigahertz, and 5 gigahertz. And that's the big thing now. Now we have the 4 gigahertz type of force, and that's not good enough. We have the 5G. Well, that's more energy, and as you can see here, more of this comet assay occurs, showing DNA being broken up like that. RF, once again, is able to react with DNA. Other studies have shown here can cause changes with fibroblasts, lymphocytes, part of your immune system, different other type of factors in terms of chick development in embryos, human endothelial cells, in terms of things that basically make your body be able to be what it is, can be very, very important in terms of growth and health and well-being there. Specific absorption rate, SAR, does not measure biological dose. This is, once again, apples and oranges. They use different types of measurements to say that no problem, no heating here, but unfortunately in biology there's other factors that can occur, and of course they just happen to exclude that for their own agenda, which is unfortunate. Health risk of RF fields, showing that basically RF stimulates protein synthesis, causing DNA damage, animal studies causing certain cancer, brain problems, different types of blood dyscrasias or blood disorders. Epidemiology is showing acoustic neuromas increasing by 240%, as we talked about many times on here. So once again, these have risk, and as we'll talk about, what can you do? Well, there's location, 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 where the cell phone is, how much time you use, where it is, using other type of devices. We'll talk a little bit about that. Risk of ratio of all childhood cancers between 1937 and 1988 is elevated, because of the exposure of having from just starting with TV and radio up to where it is now. More EMF type of damage that occurs in terms of how the body has an impact on that. So more and more studies just show that should be based on science, not on basically different other types of agenda that have financial and corporate type of benefit like that. Biological standards to replace thermal standards, we already talked about that. Old-fashioned, misleading, doesn't really talk about other types of things that can happen here. Here's just another from Colorado State University. I mean, that's where these slides are from other types of top people in their particular type of area, showing that, once again, just that the mere 60 hertz magnetic fields that electricity just brought into our house has different types of impacts. And that particular type of exposure can be an important factor whether or not you're healthy or not. I have actually a meter where I actually loan out to my patients, and they go around the house, and it can be just as simple as moving the bed 2 or 3 feet over here, or putting the bed on another part of the house because it happens to be right next to where the power panel is like that. A lot more dose there. You don't have to lay there and sleep there. Move your body. You just reduce your chances of all these bad things just by physically moving things around. So you don't have to buy a special kind of house and different type of factors. But there are some things we can talk more about. Highest risk for radio and television repairers. You can see here, electricians, linemen, power station operators have a higher percentage of cancer than other types of non-electrical type of workers. So because they're around it all the time. Just like we talked about beauticians and cosmetologists, they're exposed to all these kind of crappy things in cosmetics and sprays, their cancer rates are higher. We talked about firefighters. They're exposed to toxic stuff, their cancer goes up compared to people aren't. It's kind of common sense. So we know from case control studies of cancer in utility workers, substantial increases, 800 and more terms of factors of that, depending on your specialty in electronic field like that. Magnetic field exposure in relationship to leukemia and brain cancer mortality, once again, among electrical utility workers there. Here's a study showing is that the brain cancer risk was the highest with exposures of 2 to 10 years. So we got intensity and duration. Those are the kind of factors that people have to think about in terms. And also what was interesting about this study, this was way back in 1986. Things have gotten a lot worse in terms of the amount of exposure, not only in terms of workers, but now with people with smartphones and smart meters and factors like that. Another study here is just showing that of the 29 studies show that 10 to 20% increase in risk of statistical significance. So, there's concern there. Does that mean that everybody, leaves the area? Well, some people do. Live in a teepee or a yurt, no electricity, work, live off the grid. Some people like that, and some people have done that. I'm not advocating that, but once again, doing simple type of things by we've talked about taking certain nutrients like protandum, beta-1,3-glucan, other type of natural things that have to counteract some of these bad things. We talked about the inverse square law. We talked about other type of devices that shield a little bit. These are some things that you can help you and your family to be able to do that. Radiation exposure, pretty classic, in terms of microwave radio frequencies, increase the risk of brain cancer over and over again. RF fields, once again, causes changes at the molecular level, at these cation transports, the calcium transport system. Very, very profound in what it does to the body in producing these protein kinases. That's what we talked about. Using NRF2 kinase pathways is the cutting edge of either helping or hurting the living human being. And so these particular type of forces have an impact on that and have a big difference. Just we show melatonin, which we've talked a lot. I've had the privilege of listening and lecture one of the foremost authorities on melatonin. Fabulous type of natural type of hormone. Great studies in terms of antioxidants with cancer, other type of problems like that, showed that melatonin suppression at 60 hertz. So we know that light spectrums. In my practice, in people that have real difficulty sleeping, they wear special eyeglasses from university, which we talked about, that found out by wearing these glasses, you don't destroy the melatonin and you start sleeping. You don't have to take natural things just by wearing these glasses from 3 o'clock to on. And then after a couple or 3 or 4 months, you can actually start sometimes taking those off and be able to do okay. But so there's lots of different research out there, lots of different steps to take. Once again, I'm not just all, horrible type of things like, out there. Where's my little sound here? Yeah, this can get kind of scary. All we're talking about, cancer and death and disease, all because there's radiation. Well, once again, there's things that you can do to be able to counteract that. Investigation of increased incidence of childhood leukemia near radio towers in Hawaii, showing significant increases like that versus children that aren't like that. So, these are the factors that you have to be thinking about. So when you buy a house, that's some of the things. Where are the power lines? Where's the cell phone? These are some choices that you can make. Now, maybe you can't because that's the best house for you, but, then there's other things that you have to do to counteract it. But the studies are over and over again showing, just like here, cancer incidence or mortality, which is death rate, proximity to TV towers. Now, it's not so much TV towers, it's cell phone towers. Still applies, still same type of factors like that. Another study, as you can see down in the lower part, like American Journal of Epidemiology. These are from leading, research journals from universities around the world showing big concern in terms of where you are and what kind of problems that can exert. So having the industry saying there's no problems, that's crazy. I'm not saying that everybody's going to have this problem. It's somewhere in between. It has to do with that individuality. I can eat a peanut, someone else can die. We're all different in terms of where we're at, and so that's why we have to be concerned as a kind of society, as a neighborhood, as a group, to be able to at least present this information so people know about it, instead of just telling the corporate line that okay, this is all safe, this is all good, that's just not the case. So what I'm trying to show you here is that yes, there is some risk there. You have some benefits. Yeah, you might like your smartphone. Okay, but let's try to make some other changes like that. The smart meter, as we'll show you here, costs a lot of initial uptake to do it. There's a whole issue in terms of privacy that Vince will kick in here a little later on about having people pretty much control what you're doing. Now, as we'll talk about, not only there's smart meters, there's smart appliances, and there's a smart network where you have all these things talking and you have some command center somewhere else, some other entity of people making decisions for, oh, okay, it's too hot outside, we're turning down the air conditioning. It's too cold, well, we're going to cut down your heat anyway. Who are they? Usually these are people that that usually don't have the qualification to really make any good judgment. So that's just, once again, it usually has to do with cost. So public health, SOS, power density, we already talked about that in terms of different types of sources of wireless radiation. Wi-Fi, as you can see here, that has a factor. Baby monitors, smart meters, which we'll talk about. Wi-Fi, Wi-Max, headsets, cell phones, cell towers. These are all these, once again, radiation. These are all have an impact on our state of well-being. The weight of the scientific evidence shows adverse health effects. That's just it. All studies show an increase of brain tumor risk after 10 years. And most of these studies you read, these are when people were just using their phones for less than an hour a day. Now, kids use that, an hour is like nothing. If they're not using, there's actually where kids go to sleep with their phone and text and do things throughout the night. Not only does it screw up their brain chemistry to develop brain cancer, but it screws up their sleep. Malignant brain tumors, 40% increase in just 30 minutes a day after 10 years. Who does 30 minutes anymore a day? Nobody. So that increases substantially. And as you'll see here, and this is for Vince, most of this research comes from the Scandinavian countries. This is a professor from Sweden, and we kind of talk about that. There's an initiative of other universities around the world saying, hey, we need to start paying attention. Don't just let the utility companies and the telecommunication companies just do what they want so they can make, once again, billions of dollars a year. I saw a statistic because I'm interested in mobile apps in terms of advertising using your cell phone, is that there's 5.3 billion people next year are going to have cell phones. There's going to only be 7 billion people. It's nuts. As there's a statistic in India, there's more people that have a cell phone than have a toilet. I would contend it's more important to have a toilet, because we talk about that classic study, 160 years of the greatest scientific medical breakthroughs published in British Medical Journal. What was the greatest breakthrough? Some surgical procedure that usually doesn't have any science, doesn't have any crossover studies. How about drugs that, once again, usually don't have any science? No, the greatest benefit in terms of health and well-being is public health, clean water, clean air, those type of factors, having toilets. That's what caused us to be able to advance in age, not so-called these miracle drugs and things that are very expensive. It's nice PR, it's nice on TV, but it's just no science to support it. So initiative is taking in terms of different types of factors in 2007 because, yeah, DNA is busted up. Stress proteins are produced. Stress is bad. Stress produces 60 to 80% of all diseases. Sleep and cognitive function changes like that. Alterations in how your brain works. Neurobehavioral type of problems. These are all, once again, been shown scientifically. Accelerated aging. That's, if you want to be younger, you can't be having exposure and breaking up your body like this. Otherwise, you're going to be aged like that. The Ecolog report of T-Mobile, April 2007. So damaging effects of the immune system from, once again, low voltage, which are now higher in terms like that. Chromosome aberrations. Direct damage to DNA synthesis and repair. Bad stuff. That's what causes cancer. So this has all been published, this has all been reviewed, this has all been shown scientifically to be a factor, is that when you get into these, now this is only, 1800 megahertz, now we're into, as I said, 5 gigahertz, and megahertz is a million, now they're into billion. So that's what it was doing back in 2009. There's bigger damage occurring like that. So even at 1800 megahertz like that, which is equivalent to about 1 gigahertz there, is mitochondrial damage. DNA or RNA messengers are damaged. 24-hour exposure causes increase in oxidative damage to the mitochondria, which is very, very delicate to these factors. How about reproduction? 30 to 40% of all couples in industrial countries have difficulty conceiving. I have great results. I just had another couple, once again, couldn't conceive, come in, within 3 months, they're conceiving. Sure, you can go out and spend $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, 20% success rate at best. They always have big games, lots of side effects, a lot of mess. Well, I guess it's your choice. Well, unfortunately, it's not a choice. Most people don't have that. Insurance pays for it that they don't have. Taxpayers have to pay for all this stuff that we don't have, and that's why we're in a debt, whole different topic. So here, it affects your sperm. 2009 study shows aberration in terms of the sperm head, being able to conceive and reproductive type of health benefits. Here's another study, exposure study in San Francisco Medical Society, showing the same things over and over again. Studies after studies. This stuff is bad stuff. Here's some Wi-Fi alteration to gene expression. Bad stuff. Why is Wi-Fi so dangerous? Because constant transmission at full power. It's constantly, doesn't kind of go up a little bit, it's down, it's bombarding it and doesn't decrease power when not in use. It's just always exposure, 24/7. So we go with, in physics, power and duration. The higher the power, the more damage. The longer you have it, the more damage like that. So it's 24/7 now. So this is once again shown over and over again in terms of these bad type of things. And then there's unfortunately, there's people that are a lot more sensitive. They're what are called the canaries in the healthcare system. They just seem to be more sensitive, more reactive. And I see those patients and help them all the time. Not only sensitive to chemicals and drugs and electromagnetic forces, but sometimes even food, because their body has become so depleted, so wasted because of the other factors, and have great success with those type of patients. What does this mean on a daily basis? Yeah, symptoms that people think are other type of factors like that, from dizziness to headaches, fatigue, sleep, skin disorders, ringing of the ears, restless leg. All these can be a factor of these other types of things. Now, they can be also due to other things, like blood sugar things could be diet, but also electromagnetic forces can also contribute to that. World Health Organization is concerned about, these different types of forces there. Back in 2005, that's showing that, big concern like that. Children are not little people. That's where our biggest concern is. Kids with cell phones, kids exposed to different computer stuff. Their body is a lot more sensitive. They're setting down the foundation for bad things to happen in the future. Just like heart disease. Heart disease takes 10, 20, 30 years, same as with cancer. So there's a special vulnerability for children, so try to be able to do. The University of Pittsburgh is a great one because that's the third leading research center, if not in the United States, in the world. There's MD Anderson in Texas, Sloan Kettering in New York, and then University of Pittsburgh is number 3 in terms of cancer. The top chairperson of that did a memo saying, hey, we're doing a lot of research. I'm really concerned. Be careful, and we'll talk about just once again simple type of things with your cell phones. So the top people know about what happens in terms of this breakdown of the basic foundation of who you are, the genetic material, the DNA. And this biological process can then manifest into causing cancer, which is once again increasing, this whole kind of scam about, we're winning the war on cancer. It's a joke. We are not. We talked about terrible things like chemotherapy. Largest study showed that over 5 years, at best, it might increase five-year survival rate by 2.1%. 2.1%. I mean, no other industry is making trillions of dollars off of such little success. I mean, and God forbid you try some natural interventions that actually been shown to be a lot more effective than that. So our children are at risk. So you really want to make a conscious effort to try to minimize the amount of exposure to our children, at least. And so other countries around the world are trying to make it a little bit more difficult for that. So Citizens for Safe Technology, calling for all good men. So there's different types of the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Yeah, you got to take action. You have to basically do something, whether or not it's your health, your environment, or politics. You have to be an activist in some way. Maybe it can be as simple as protesting, or at least voting. Voicing your opinion. Now with the internet, you can go on different websites and you can contact all your representatives and be in contact to these people, because it's a representative democracy. They represent us, and they don't, unfortunately, and it's just a tragedy about what's going on. So here's a great slide from Kay, from Oklahoma, showing that, smart meters are, once again, is the new high-tech type of device that kind of seems to be kind of fun. You don't have the person walking around their neighborhood taking the little the analog digital numbers anymore. It's all communicated, as we'll show you here, back to a central location that's able to find out how much you're using, and so to be able to do that. And so there have been different types of different reports on radio frequency and smart meters. Here's on our left is the old-fashioned analog, or someone had to come around, look at the little dials there and see how much electricity or gas you're using, and now it's all electronic. Is that, that's beamed back to the central community, central area here, as you can see here, the schematics here. And as we'll show you here, is that now appliances are getting to have these RF chips in there, so they're able to communicate with this. And so what happens, we get, and I'll have Vince kind of join me a little bit here about private issues. Now you have other people, other agencies knowing about what you do, and it's none of their business. I mean, utilities companies, yeah, you have government-sanctioned monopoly. You know, that's not fair in this country, even though we have a medical monopoly, which is only 500% bigger and badder than the military-industrial complex, but we don't want to go into that. It's okay for them to monopolize on their system. It's their way or the highway. And unfortunately, 85% of their way isn't even scientific and causes all these kind of problems. But in this particular type of, government-produced monopoly, this utility company, now they're getting information about what you're doing in your house. And that's what the big concern for people are. Not only the health issues, but in terms of private rights and private information there. So it's this whole network of being able to, once again, know when you watch your TV and what appliances you do. And so they can actually make a profile on who you are by looking at different types of ways that you behave. And people, and including myself, what business do you have on that? You're a private entity. You've been created to produce utilities. Okay, that's great. Just do your work. You don't have to know when I use the washing machine and when I'm on TV. That's none of your business. But that's where we're getting into, that nosiness in terms of going like that. Can you show that slide for me, Vince? Thanks. So, yeah, smart meters do not save energy, so people do. So that's the thinking is, okay, if we tell people, we find out, we sock them, with more charges, we'll talk about peak use. That's one of the problems. Now they can jack up your rates higher because now they can justify that during the peak time. That's a more important part for us to make more money, and they do, and our rates go up. Once again, I don't think they should be into making lots and lots of money for people that that have this monopoly. They should be fair, and of course there's supposed to be these agencies that are jokes, that pretty much nod and wink at the utility companies. Smart meters are usually, once again, problems with, once again, that day-to-day, hour-to-hour use in terms of communicating what's happening with one another in that. So what is a smart grid? That's where we go beyond just now we not just your house, now we go from city to county to the country to the world, where we're able to get this data. Now with high processing computers, you can start making profiles. You can start controlling people. Okay, when it's hot, okay, we're not going to give you heat. We're not going to give you, we're going to give you air conditioning. And so other people make decisions than you do. So smart appliances, that's coming on board now, that the new appliances you buy have these RF type of frequency generators that are able to talk to this to this central kind of committee like that, kind of scary stuff, big brother type of information. And so that's it. And so there's different movements that are occurring. Now, as I said, this woman here happens to be from Oklahoma, talking about what they're concerned about in terms of Oklahoma not wanting to have them have this kind of, invasion of privacy. Vince, why don't you kind of chime in a little bit here? I mean, you're a real advocate of that. Any thoughts on that?
Well, you're missing a couple points too.
Okay, good.
One is that the smart meters also designed, one of its primary use is to raise the rates during peak hours.
That's right.
So with an analog meter, you can't do that, but a smart meter can tell exactly when you're using that. So if you're going to be using electricity from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m., it's going to cost you double.
Right.
So that's number one.
So there's doing some social
which is kind of unfair. It's like electricity should be electricity. If you're going to sell me electricity, no matter how much I use, that shouldn't be dependent on how much it costs. What other thing do you know that's charged that way?
Well, this goes into the social engineering, is where now we're going to be able to say, well, I think you shouldn't use so much electricity. That's hard.
I mean, it should be opposite. If I use a lot of electricity, you should be giving me a discount. That's how most businesses operate.
And they do, actually, for larger businesses. They do get a discount. But that's the issue here is now these, once again, they're monopolies. They shouldn't be making decisions about what they want to do with that. That's not their right. Once again, they're lucky to have this man-made monopoly that they can't have any competition. In this country, competition is supposed to be good. Other than like they talked about, other than like in government and in medicine, there is no competition because they have a monopoly on that.
Utilities shouldn't be privately owned anyway.
Well, exactly. Yeah, that's right.
Because what do they do just besides rape the government and rape the taxpayers, and then and then
they whine and cry that they didn't make enough and they have to raise the rates. Yeah, I know. It happens all the time.
And then
because there's no competition.
And then the government kicks in and builds them a dam.
Yeah, exactly. All paid by the taxpayers. No investment there, so that's kind of nice. But everybody thinks it's free.
So the other point was too is that going on the whole smart meter, what's intended to do, I think it's also going to be a witch hunt as far as labeling who the gross users are.
Right. You're the bad person. These are the good people.
Exactly. So if you use so much over, a day, it also will tell them too how many people you have in your house.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Because now
by law, you're only supposed to have so many people in a house.
Right.
It's unlawful to put 3 families in one house.
Right.
They don't enforce it,
right?
Because it's really hard to. But now they can gather evidence.
As with these smart appliances, they'll be able to manipulate and know, just like they know they can. Just like we know with cell phones, they actually have GPS and phones that have cameras that can be activated away, and they know exactly what you're doing all day long. They can actually have databases. You went to this house, you did this, you were in this. At 2 o'clock in the morning, you were here and there, and so you get back into the privacy issue. And the same thing with that. Not only do you tell how much people you're, but what you're doing in there. How often you're using your laundry. How often you're using your TV. Your iron, and things, factors like this, so that they can make you. Yeah, you're the boogeyman now. Is that you're bad because you went over this list, so now we'll post your name, and now you're not green anymore.
Right.
I mean, that's what I would say. The social engineering.
Or they cut like if you're a care program, under the care program, if you're labeled a gross user, you can be dropped from that program.
Right. Yeah. That's right.
The possibilities.
And why should this utility company have that kind of power? They shouldn't. Like you said, they shouldn't even be allowed to have a monopoly. There should be, once again, real competition there, but there isn't. There's a smart grid global. So we've gone from just your house to your community now to global. So actually implementing in other countries, and they'll all be intercommunicating to be able to have this kind of this networking around the world. And so you have this technocracy where you have this government by scientists, engineers, and experts, not by the people, by other people that somehow bring into their mind that, oh, I know better than you do. I'm going to do this because I work for a utility company. I'm an engineer, and now I'm going to make these decisions because I know better than you do. Well, who are you? Smart grid stimulus, lots of money being put into it in terms of this. So there's been concern there.
See, there you go. Go back to that slide.
Sure.
All right, if these people are monopolies and they have tons and tons of money, what do they need $3.4 billion for?
Because
this is my point.
They can have
this is my point. They're raping you on both ends.
Exactly right.
They're raping you on the government end, which is your taxpayer end, and then they're raping you when they go to charge it
as a consumer.
As a consumer.
I know, I get it.
Shouldn't you get a discount if you're a taxpayer and you're part of that stimulus program?
You're an investor. You're like
you're a gross
joint
user.
venture type of person. Your tax dollars are put into that. That's exactly right.
I mean, God, I wish I could have a company that I could just get stimulus packages all year long.
I know.
Yeah, where's my stimulus package?
Once again, it's who you know that counts. It's special interest groups. They get all the benefits. So you go to the government, you spend a couple $100,000 on their campaign, and then you get $1 billion in return by having these special sweet deals.
How much was that again? $3.2 billion?
Yeah.
$3.2 billion in stimulus
but people throw billions like $3 billion. They don't even get it. It's like $3 to them. Billions of dollars is a big deal. This is mostly in terms of Oklahoma, but it applies in other states.
Did you know, just to break it up,
sure.
I don't know if you realize this yet, but they're throwing around $3.2 billion like it's no big deal.
It's like they're throwing a penny to
But
somebody.
when I go to the bank to pull out $4,000, they say, no, I cannot do it without 24 hours notice.
That's right.
I can't pull my money out of the bank
that's a little dirty little secret.
4 hours notice. And it's only $4,000.
I know.
$4,000 is nothing. That's a junky car.
I know, but people don't realize in terms of all this fake type of smoke and mirrors out there financially, is that if people wanted to withdraw their money, just like you're saying, they could.
Nope.
If there was a crisis, like that, you wanted to take.
That's what it's designed for. That's exactly what it's designed for. If everything hits bottom
if there's a run on the bank, boom.
Yeah, everyone that makes a mad dash to the bank to pull their money out, good luck.
And then just like they did during the Depression, and they have which sounds very sweet, a bank holiday. Oh, that's great. What that meant is they closed the banks and you couldn't take any of your money out for a number of days.
Right.
Until things
or months.
Or months, right? And then they started stealing gold from people and all this other kind of garbage that went out like that. That could happen right now. So these are the different types of factors and concern that people have that want to voice their opinion in terms of against having this type of technology and having this private rule of freedom being violated here. So in terms of basically peak pricing, that's what Vince was talking about, to be able to charge more. Different types of agencies out there in terms of, once again, trying to be concerned about different factors. This is, once again, different types of issues that bring people up to date on terms of what we have. So do we have the right to refuse? Yes, there's actually some legislation, there's movement. We'll talk about Maine actually passed a law. There's countries out there that show that, that they don't want this kind of crap going on. With
go back again. Go back to
Sure.
that last slide.
Yeah, there's no federal mandate. This doesn't have to be. This is made up by the utility companies.
$4.5 billion in grants to encourage what?
Yeah.
To encourage the mandates?
Yeah, for them to be able to have this be done and take place. Once again, you're being screwed both ways, from your tax dollars and from as a consumer rate user.
I thought things were supposed to change. Wasn't Obama about change? What's changing?
Intentions could be good, but once again, the system is so corrupt, who knows what happens. So this goes a little bit into the safety issues here. There's two views showing that, this is what the utility company shows in terms of specific areas, but another person who did a whole body shows it. It's because it's, all the time, it's constant, just we talked about like Wi-Fi. That has a bigger impact on our body. Dirty electricity, in terms of showing that this electrical pollution is another danger. We already talked about that.
And here's another big fallacy too.
What's that?
Oh, electricity is great because it's powered by clean coal. Clean coal.
Well, it's cleaner than it used to be.
But clean coal.
I know,
well, then why not just say cleaner coal?
Right. Well, because it's all marketing. It's all about.
Of course it is.
It's all about people.
It's all about deception. And,
it goes back to you.
And it works.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
And it works.
Consumers, just like
they do it because it works.
Just like with consumers and patients, we talked about. If you want to act as a fool and have no critical thinking, then you get what you get. If you want to just nod your head with your hat on backwards and your pants falling off, and they tell you this crap, and you're going, how can coal be clean? Oh, well, we meant, they use scrubbers, and it's cleaner than it was in 1960. No, well, then cleaner would be the right word. It's not clean. Clean means there's like no emissions like that. That's just not possible. So, but that's the kind of game people dance around, just like, the drug doctors. Okay, Mrs. Jones, this is going to correct your problem. How's that going to do that? I don't know. Drug rep gave me $10,000 to go to a Hawaiian vacation for me to talk about this drug that had a 1/10 of 1% improvement out of 10 trillion people.
And to be fair, the side effects are pretty, come on. If you read the side effects of every single drug and you still take that drug.
Well, I know.
That's pretty much on you, right?
Well, that's right. It goes back to, you have to have some critical thinking.
Especially when the side effects is death.
I know. Hospitalization, kidney, liver failure, eyeballs falling out.
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree. No, that's it. But that's still the same kind of zombieism that's out there, and that's used not only in the medical profession, but utility companies.
And here's what else needs to change, too. I think that, okay, for example, Facebook, okay? Right. People like to post their opinions on Facebook, and sometimes they post an opinion that strews about 25 comments afterwards.
Sure.
So I'm reading this one because I find it pretty interesting what people are arguing about.
Sure.
And they're arguing about that the guy who's actually the first posting is pissed off because people are saying Happy Xmas and Happy Holidays and taking the Christ out of Christmas.
Okay.
This spawned 17 at least, and it's probably still going.
I'm sure.
And it's like, really? Is this what you're upset about? Is this what we're really arguing about? Is this what we're really upset about? Is this the good fight here?
That's the sadness.
I agree. And the hypocrisy is, what would Jesus say?
Well,
would Jesus really care? No, Jesus
would
care.
Jesus is a rebel.
Jesus would care about what's happening with the smart meters.
Right.
Well,
I mean, that's why, more people will vote with X Factor and American Idol than go to the presidential election and vote. I mean, that's how nuts this is.
And so, that's what needs to change.
I know. So people, once again, will be motivated to vote on, you know, some fairly adequate singers versus the destiny of the country and the world. They don't do that. They don't spend any time investigating what's their platform. Oh, I like him. He smiles. Yeah, he has a catchy, you know, title. Let's have change. I mean, what do you mean? What is going on here? I mean,
let's even go one step further for critical thinking. You have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people wasting their life standing out in the cold.
Exactly. To save $50 on a big
occupying Oakland and occupying this and occupying that, and then you go ask them, what is it that you want? What are you fighting against? Wall Street. What does that mean?
Nothing.
That means nothing. At least when they protested Vietnam, they wanted the soldiers back. Right. They wanted the war to end.
That's right.
They had clear, distinctive goals. Every time they talk to one of these people on the news, I just cringe and go, this is why I don't watch the news.
I thought you were going, which, you know.
Yeah.
I was going into just what happened on Black Friday in terms of people wasting their lives.
Let's go one step further.
For 17 days, so you can be first in line, so you can save $60 on this 60-inch TV set. I mean, why couldn't you do that in terms of really good causes? Or the woman who's pepper spraying, or the mob that's...
Or the shooting.
Or the shooting. Or the mob.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving, peace, love, and joy.
Yeah, I know.
Christmas time, peace, love, and joy. I'm going to shoot you over a Tickle Me Elmo doll.
Well, on YouTube, which is great.
Are you freaking nuts?
I know.
Are you idiots? Why are they even out there? This stuff is cheaper on the internet anyway.
Well, and who needs all that extra garbage?
Right. Well,
that's a whole different story.
And there's that. And who needs all the garbage of this holiday anyway?
That's exactly right.
You're talking about electromagnetic force. What about all the electromagnetic force at night right now with all the lights that are turned on?
That's right.
And they keep growing more and more and more because there's more houses and more people and more lights and more Christmas trees and just more junk.
That is. It's about buying junk. That's exactly right. It has nothing to do about being grateful, thankful, any type of spiritual, any type of higher level type of thinking. It's all about, you know, how much junk can I have?
Exactly. Yeah, you're dying of brain cancer from your smart meter, but you got that 60-inch TV on sale for $1,000.
I'm down on that.
Enjoy it while you can.
Yeah, man. That's good. So that's the sadness out there. FCC has assigned Environmental Protection Agency back in, '69 to try to protect us in terms of different levels, as we'll talk a little later on.
And they're whores, too.
Well, we'll talk about it. It's a joke. They're basically bought by the special interest groups to raise up the rates to where, it looks like it's safe, but it's not. It's not supported by science.
Wait until they get their hands on the internet.
Well, I know. They're trying.
And then all your stuff on the internet, gone.
Exactly. Well, no, I know. Exactly. That's exactly right. So we already talked about the privacy issues in terms of, how these things are having other people find out what you're doing, that they should really have no right to do that. The consequences of the privacy. You can see a whole list of different types of, tracking behavior of residents and leasers. I mean, who are they to be able to do that behavior?
And then what about air? It's really hard to make an error on analog meters. In fact, that was the big
that's right.
That was the big complaint when smart meters came out, is that, oh wow, my bill went up drastically. And they tried to say it's because analog meters weren't as efficient.
That's bull.
Analog electrical ammeters are the most efficient tool out there.
Digital is just more convenient. It doesn't have anything to do about the accuracy and the measurement.
Right, they can punch in whatever numbers they
exactly.
want, and who are you to say
they use
different?
They use what's it called? Not analogs. They use algorithms where they round things up and down. So actually,
right.
Digital things could be actually worse off than a real old-fashioned, an analog type of factor.
Or even make it medians to what you used last year.
That's right.
It's like, well, you paid this much last year. You're probably using that much this year. So here you go. Here's your bill.
Right. So this just shows you a little bit of a day in terms of the activity, what they can find out about what you do and your activities, or this social modification or, say, behavioral modification there. This data then is transformed into some type of, big database, and then the other people use it to, a lot of times, not to your advantage. Fourth Amendment rights, privacy issues about smart meters being discussed in terms of being able to help have that privacy not be violated. Control over disclosure of personal information. Once again, different types of court cases have been handed down in terms of what is proper and what's not. Who owns the data? Once again, these utility companies are, once again, private, government pseudo type of companies out there.
Private, they're private.
Yeah, but they shouldn't have a right for that. So those are some issues there. Third-party access. So now other people can tap in that weren't originally to, but governments can start to opt in with other types of reasons. Texas is again and other type of states. This is Oklahoma. Another. I guess that's not it. I hope I didn't miss it. There was this about how Maine has come out, and a number of Scandinavian companies are now actually trying to ban this because of health and privacy and other types of security issues. It's called these, smart meters. Definitely some.
Wait, go back to that one.
Sure.
Two. Wow, really?
Yeah.
By the CIA director.
Yeah. What do they know, right? They know everything. That's the scary part about that.
I'm surprised he's against it.
I know.
He should be for it.
Yeah. Here's the accuracy that Vince and I were talking about in terms of the accuracy there. A number of lawsuits against that. Definitely some opposition. Opting out. Yeah. So some opting out. So Maine has actually started to make some movement, and there's other states, and I know California is working on a similar type of thing to have at least give people choices. I don't want to have the smart meter. I don't care, who you think is better and being bribed and take advantage of all our tax dollars. And just like Vince said, what's wrong with the analog? That's worked for a long time. That still works like that. And here in May of just this year,
well, analog requires people to come to your house too. So that's another pension.
Right.
That's more insurance, unemployment insurance.
But when we're in issues of trying to find jobs, and maybe that would be better than having some other type of person be able to find out who and what you are. So privacy issues. But yeah, that's a whole different issue in terms of these special type of sweet deals for different type of workers. So May 25th, just a couple months ago, landmark case that represents the first time any state has ordered an electrical utility to permit customers the choice to opt out of a smart meter program. Why is that so revolutionary? Why is that a landmark decision? What has happened to our country in terms that we, the people, control the government, these private entities, we control them. But unfortunately, that has been turned around where the government controls you because people, once again, have been dumbed down, I guess, or their hats
conditioned.
or conditioned to thinking that they are now.
People aren't stupid; they're just susceptible
to conditioning factors. Well, that's probably it.
I mean, right now, Christmas, that's when they test you. I think that's the big test. As a kid, if you believe in Christmas, and if they can get you to lie to your kid about believing in Santa Claus, you are susceptible.
Right. Or Hallmark has created holidays where you have to run out and spend $4 on a card because your good gesture and your good deeds and just being a good humanitarian isn't good enough. You have to now go and spend money to, Secretary Day, Boss Day, it's sunny day, it's a rainy day. They got days for everything to perpetuate their own business. It has nothing to do with, really being kind or kind of a selfless type of love. It's just about making bucks, doing cards. Hawaii is in action in terms of trying to make some changes like that. So smart meters, not compulsory, not to be in the Netherlands. I mean, so even countries are now taking initiatives saying, hey, this is too fast. This is all BS. Hey, we're going to kind of step back and at least give not I was going to say patients, but the customers the right to be able to choose. So those are the different types of issues in terms of what has been up. Another type of consumer group here, great slide presentation, is that P&G is out of touch and out of control. I mean, they are just like the government. They have made themselves into their own entity where they think they're kings and queens. They just do what they want. They manipulate these different types of panels and commissions that are jokes. They just rubber stamp them. It's just a sad state of affairs. So people have to start taking action, and that's hopefully when people read about this and saying, hey, I'm not going to do that, and I don't want that.
I love the commercials, too. Have you seen any of the
I don't watch
commercials?
too much TV, so no.
There's commercials where different people come on and they're dancing and they're happy that they got their smart meter because
Great.
now they can get an app for their iPhone.
There you go.
And see exactly
How
from
much
their
it's
phone
costing
how
me
much
right
it's
now.
costing them. Yeah, right on that.
real time.
Exactly.
Right there. That's
Yep.
great. Hey, gotta love that. And
instead of just going home and turning off some stuff.
And who's paying for that BS advertisement? We are.
Yep.
As the consumers and as
Oh,
the
it's
tax
probably
dollars.
government funded.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Part
Our
of
tax,
part of
we're
the
paid both.
initiative.
We have to pay both ways. And the utility companies laugh all the way to the bank. They're getting paid by the government, and they're ripping, like you said, the consumer
And everybody's
off.
watching football right now.
Hey, which is great. That's how it should be. Playing
Because
adult.
they're the real heroes.
Well,
they're the leaders.
Seeing adult men play a children's game on drugs and steroids. I mean, that's all American, right?
Yeah.
I mean, all these drug things
No,
are such a joke. I mean, you know, let's have an investigation and set in committee like that. Come on, let's get real.
Who cares?
Well, not only do they, who cares? But these are the
who
modern.
cares? Let them do whatever drugs they want.
Exactly. These are the modern gladiators, just like they did in Rome. They were disposable. They throw them in with the lions. They had some entertainment as they were being ripped apart by lions. That's just part of what the nature of that role of the gladiator. That's what we have nowadays. Now we brought them up to, you know, where these athletes are some type of semi-gods. I mean, they can barely read or write. I mean, they're usually in and out of jail for either beating up people or shooting people. Yeah, I mean, they're animals. I mean, but, you know, we look at them like, oh, my goodness, these are the epitome of, I mean, those days are gone. When I grew up, you know, athletes, and even like the Olympics were something kind of, now, you know, most Olympic athletes are professional athletes. I mean, that's all they do, which is fine. I mean, it shows up, but let's just tell it like it is. Let's try to, you know, keep away from this amateur or this romantic notion about sports.
And let's stop spending time and energy and money on stupid Senate meetings, on stupid steroid use.
Agree.
Who cares?
Well, not only that, but everybody uses it.
Cares?
How can you go from a little tiny guy to a big massive guy in a year? Doesn't happen.
And here's the big fallacy too. Everybody thinks that steroids is just one drug.
Oh no, it's not.
No, steroids are thousands of drugs.
Well, there's
in
designer
fact,
drugs.
when they pick up their bottle of milk and it says does not contain HBBT
right.
or whatever growth hormone, that doesn't mean it doesn't contain another one.
Well, I know, so of course.
Do you think that's the only growth hormone there is?
It's, once again, Vince, just watch American Idol, watch some football, stop thinking. Just let these people go through the little, you know, pony show and show people that, you know, I'm really concerned, you know, let's have a Senate and a congressional hearing about that. I mean, come on. How about like balancing the budget? Let's bring people back from Afghanistan and Iraq. Let's do some real things. But, you know, they don't do any of that. They're just the new, you know, Roman, empire. They're the rulers. You know, they you know, I don't know if you heard, you know, they just passed a Senate bill and a congressional bill or a law so that they can do what we can't do. They can get inside information, make money off
insider trading.
Insider trading. They allowed to do that.
What Martha Stewart got thrown in prison for,
exactly
every single congressman can do that.
They are special. So they don't have the American Disability Act. They don't have to follow different other labor laws. They're special. So what has happened here is that, once again, the sheeple have allowed the government to become, you know, these monsters. They should all be kicked out of office, and they should be brought in with people, and all these things should be eliminated immediately. They shouldn't get any special interests like that. Who are you? It was never designed to be a lifelong job where you go in and you make $100,000 and you come out making $400 million because of all these special type of gangster type of rulings that you give so that you can get insider
I like the
trade.
one where you can be a congressman for 2 years and then
for the rest of your life.
And then for the rest of your
life. Gravy.
You're set up for the rest of
Where's
your
that money
life.
come from? We don't have the money.
Oh my God.
But that's how the system is. Oh, we'll just keep, you know, putting on the credit card. The debt keeps rising. They have these stupid things. Well, if we don't raise the credit, you know, the national debt, the government should be shut down. Hey, let's shut it down for like 6 months, and let's see what really happens. Probably very little. I mean, there's a classic study in terms of the healthcare system where Israel shut down. All the doctors there were unionized. They shut down for a month, and guess what happened to the death rate?
It went down.
That's right. All this, you know, TV, you know, Dr. House or whatever his name is, making these miracle things. Yeah, they do a little bit like that. But like we talked about, every 3 minutes, one person is killed by the medical profession. Health and Human Services, you know, it's on the internet. It's a report. That's the facts, Jack. So back to smart meters and dynamic pricing. So that's just a nice fancy term for ripping you off, as Vince has brought out like that. Smart meters as consumer benefits, what a joke, you know, that's a benefit for the utility companies. And so on and on and on, this kind of goes in terms of different rates, substantial. People have seen rates go up 200–300%. So it's a great type of, rip-off type of situation. So rebuilding consumer confidence, yeah, well, let's forget about this. Stop, give people choices like that and be able to do well. So that's a little bit about smart meters.